Hey guys, I'm Hendrien and welcome to Edgy Clayware Studio. I will be showing you how to make a coil pot today, and making coil pots is a lot of fun and it's really not that difficult. You just gotta get down how to make the coil and then you're pretty much set. As a beginner working with coil pots, it's so much fun because you can learn how to work with the clay properly and kind of figure out your own style. If you're a perfectionist and you want the coil to be super thin, or if you don't really care and you're a bit more abstract and you like the coil to be super thick, and they don't have to be even all the way around either in terms of the thickness that you make them. However, the walls should technically be the same, otherwise it may dry unevenly, so that's one thing we need to look at. But before we get into all of that, let's quickly talk about the history of coiling. This is going to be a very quick history lesson. Coiling is one of the oldest pottery techniques that there is. It spans over centuries and over a variety of different cultures all around the world. The reason why coiling was such a preferred technique was because you build the pot from the bottom and you work your way up. Where if you just put the walls of the pot like a slab, you put the walls of the pot on, it could sometimes just collapse or fall like outwards or fall in on itself. So this made pottery making a lot easier just by stabilizing the wall as you go. I just quickly had to swap angles because it wasn't looking good from that side, so I'm just going to shoot it from this side. So I have rolled out and cut out a round piece of clay, and I'm going to put this inside the mold. I don't mind making the coil pots when you build them straight up, but I want to make a really big one. And if you're starting in the beginning and you want to make a really big coil pots and you're unsure of yourself, use a mold. Ready to go. Alrighty, I've already rolled out two of the coils and I'm going to do another one. So I've taken some clay and I've just kind of taken the clay and rounded it out with my hands already so that it looks like this. So it's not flat on the one side, because once you start rolling, you can easily flatten it out. So in the beginning, it takes a little bit of practice, but it's not that hard, guys. I'm going to show you how to do it now. So when you start, you're going to start in the middle of the clay. And you're going to do 360-degree turns, and as you're doing it, you're going to push the clay out. So you're just going to do this for quite a few times. If you feel that there's a part that's flattening out, don't worry. Concentrate on the part that's flattened out and just push down and try and get it round again. In the beginning, when you're starting out, it can get quite tricky. So in the middle and pull out. Now don't push too hard on the clay. The clay will automatically go out by itself, so you don't have to force it too much. Clay is your friend. If you feel your clay is drying out, don't worry. I've got some water here. Always just put some water on. I'm just lightly dabbing it with water, guys, not a lot. Then when you start the coiling process, we'll take this one. You put it in. Make sure once you've put it in, you've overlapped with the side that you've started. Now, I'm just going to push down with my thumb. You can use slip. People sometimes say, can you use slip when you are connecting the clay? Yes, you can, but if the clay is wet enough, then you don't need to. So they are basically just done the rim. Now yeah, I'm going to not make it too neat at the moment because while I'm building up, I can always come back and fix this later. I'm just worried that these are going to start drying out. So let me do the next one. When you're pushing down on the sides, when you're building the coil up, ensure there are no gaps because otherwise that may be problematic. If it's, for example, a fruit holder, well then of course it's fine. You can have some holes in it, but it's also if the gaps are too big sometimes, then in the kiln they may warp, but that also sometimes gives pretty cool effect. So it depends on what your style is and what you want. Let me carry on with this dude. More layers, but you also don't have to do full coils. You can do half coils if you want. So I'm using these little ones that I've made because I don't want to waste clay, and this is, you know, having some fun. So depending on what you want it to look like when we take it out, when I'm done, this will have to stand for a day before I take it out. But let me first finish the coiling process before we even get to that. I just need to check if I have any gaps, but I'm also going to be using the rib tool, this one. Love this tool. Just gonna flatten it out, but you don't need this. You can use a sponge. I use this and I use a sponge to flatten it out. So yeah, let me just check for some gaps, but also some people like that effect in the pot. So you don't necessarily have to smooth it out if you don't want to, but then make sure there are absolutely no holes, unless of course you want holes. Mind the gap. Speaking of that, I was supposed to go to London this year. Let me rather not wish for things that aren't going to happen anytime soon. Let me rather wish that this pot comes out amazing, which it totally will. Side note that if you are building in a mold, make sure that when you finish doing fixing it in the middle, because I quite like it, this looks nice, I like it, it's not completely flat, but I like the effect it has inside. You must cut off the edges, because what happens to clay when it dries out? It shrinks, which means if your pot is overhanging on the sides, when it shrinks, it's going to crack off. While I have the knife in my hand, when I'm doing my ceramic works, when I started out, I actually didn't cut away from myself like how you're supposed to do. I taught myself to cut this way, so I cut towards myself. Now, I know exactly how sharp my knives are. I know exactly the amount of pressure to put on the clay. And yeah, just letting you guys know. In the beginning, if you can, teach yourself to cut away. We do not want to lose a finger while we are doing our pottery. I put it in the sun for quite a bit yesterday. It was quite humid, so it didn't dry as fast as what it would have. And I'm hoping that it's not going to crack when I flip it over. So hold thumbs, I don't know, cross fingers. Yeah, kind of hoping everything's fine. Please. Okay, let's see, friends. Let's do this well. Okay, strong arm. I gotta go this way. When you guys do flipping and it's quite a heavy object, remember which is your strong arm and which is your weak arm. I would suggest that you flip with your weak arm and hold with your strong arm. But because sometimes you never know. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that went well. Okay, let's reveal. Oh, yeah, man. That looks good. Let's put it on the banding wheel. Whee! Yeah, I must say when I do my coiling, I push quite hard, so the coil lines are not as prominent as they would be if you push not as hard as I did. But it looks great. Move this bottle. Ruining my shot. And look how great the top looks, the bottom that I made, the flat bottom. It kind of just gives it that nice curved edge here. Oh, love it. I just want to smooth the top a bit. Some people like the cracked look when you've done the coiling. I have been a potter now for quite a few years and I still am not a big fan of cracking. Even though it looks fantastic, for some reason with my style, I like things to be smooth. All my lines are always smooth. Even with my drawings, I have smooth curved lines. So when I'm smoothing, I'm not pushing too hard and I do not have a lot of water because I don't want to lose these lines that I've created. Because if you take a wet sponge and you wet it too much and you rub too much, you're obviously going to flatten out all your coils and you won't be able to see them. So the bottom ones are perfect because they're the little ones and there's not a lot of cracking happening there, and I don't mind that because it's a little bit. But here at the top, I'm just fixing a few things, because why would you do all of that hard work just to wipe it away? I don't know if you guys realize, but I talk to my clay objects and things that I make as if they're people. I do the same with my cartoon characters. I don't know why that is. They're my friends. I guess because you invest so much time in them, you feel like they're part of your family, because sometimes you gotta let go of your family when you sell them and sometimes they break. Anyway, let's not get all philosophical on clay. Let's just get going. Let's fix you. Well, he's finished. One tip I can give you is that if you are smoothing it at the top, that might be better if you are finding that there are quite a few little cracks, because sometimes little cracks can turn into big cracks and we don't always want cracks in our pottery. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please drop some comments below. I'd love to hear from you guys and I will see you soon. Bye!